Hello and welcome to Uzreport World News, and my name is Bahram Gaffarov. Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan and the USA will cooperate on the launch of the Central Asian Investment Partnership Initiative. A corresponding joint statement was signed on January 7th. The governments of the trio plan to attract some $1 billion over 5 years.
These funds are expected to support projects that advance private sector-led growth and increase economic connectivity within Central Asia and the broader region. The Central Asia Investment Partnership will advance private sector-led projects that exemplify international standards for quality infrastructure and promote inclusive, transparent, and sustainable investments. In doing so, partners will maximize the success and positive impact of the projects and mobilize additional private investment to the region. The statement says, representatives of the three countries also said that they welcome other countries joining the initiative to promote regional economic partnership and prosperity.
Soon, Uzbek residents will be able to know about traffic jams on the streets, new road signs, as well as report traffic violations. The Ministry of Internal Affairs of Uzbekistan is preparing to launch the Road 24 mobile information system. Through personal accounts, users will be able to check for fines and pay for them. Besides, car owners will be receiving a permit online for the removal of car from the impound lot. Each user's profile will contain information about the terms of the insurance policy and technical inspection. Uzbekistan's national operator, Uztelecom, said its mobile subscriber base has reached the 7 million mark. The operator provides mobile services under the Uzmobile brand. In 2020, the operator updated and modernized its networks and transferred all base stations to 4G. It also launched more than 600 base stations throughout the country during the year. The number of internet users in Uzbekistan as of December 2020 reached 22.1 million people. The level of mobile coverage of localities in the country made up 97%, with the mobile internet coverage reaching 87%. 70% of schools and 78% of health facilities had been connected to the internet in the reporting period. Bukhara City Complex will soon open a museum of peculiar design for demonstrating the culture and history of Bukhara. The area of building in the form of 2 domes will be equal to 9.354 square meters. Its design cost almost $7 million. The museum will feature 6 expositions dedicated to nature and fine arts of Bukhara, and this is about 125,000 exhibits. A recent decree adopted by Uzbekistan's Cabinet of Ministers aims at reducing the divorce rates. The document provides for the establishment of special centers at districts. They will be engaged in preparing young people for family life. They will explain the new words, marital and parental responsibilities, and instilling respect for family values in marriage and creating a healthy spiritual and moral environment. Approximately 30% of the candidates of Phase 3 clinical trials of Chinese vaccine were tested positive for antibody tests, said Ibrahim Abdurrahmonov, the Minister of Innovation and Development of Uzbekistan, adding that the results suggest that the people had previously contracted COVID-19 and were asymptomatic.
For these reasons, the volunteers are no longer engaged in the clinical trials, as this will hinder the effectiveness of the vaccine. According to the minister, so far only 1,270 out of 3,000 candidates have been enrolled for vaccination. A total of 5,000 doses of vaccine were delivered to Uzbekistan from China. The application process for candidacy includes the interview, anamnesis, as well as the information regarding the volunteer psychological state. Besides, patients receive a medical evaluation and then are referred to get testing for coronavirus and antibodies, said the minister. Those who had previously been diagnosed with COVID-19 or tested positive for antibodies are not allowed to participate in the clinical trials. As a result, around 10% of the volunteers have voluntarily refused to get vaccination.
Uzbekistan intends to raise $7.6 million foreign direct investment by the end of this year, according to Badruddin Abidov, Deputy Minister of Investments and Foreign Trade. On Wednesday, he addressed a regular session of the International Press Club dedicated to President Shavkat Mirziyoyev's address to the parliament.
faal investisiyalar jalb qilish amalga oshirildi.
Last year, Uzbekistan saw $7 billion worth foreign direct investment. These investments were channeled towards promising industries such as electrical engineering, IT, and so forth. We are planning to attract $7.6 billion foreign direct investment in 2021. Cooperations are scheduled with several European and Asian countries.
In a blistering speech one day after pro-Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol in an unprecedented security breach, U.S. President-elect Joe Biden said the perpetrators should be considered domestic terrorists.
Don't dare call them protesters. They were a riotous mob, insurrectionists, domestic terrorists. It's that basic, it's that simple.
Biden called the chaotic day, quote, one of the darkest in the history of the United States, and blamed President Donald Trump for the rampage at the Capitol, when Biden's very own election victory was meant to be ceremoniously confirmed in Congress without incident.
And I wish we could say we couldn't see it coming. But that isn't true. We could see it coming. The past 4 years, we've had a president who's made his contempt for our democracy, our Constitution, the rule of law clear in everything he has done. He unleashed an all-out assault on our institutions of our democracy from the outset. And yesterday was but the culmination of that unrelenting attack.
In the wake of that attack, Biden said Merrick Garland, his pick to serve as the top U.S. law enforcement official, would restore faith in the rule of law and will not be Biden's attorney general, but the people's attorney general. Garland, who was blocked from his Supreme Court nomination by Senate Republicans in 2016, vowed to treat everyone equal under the law.
The essence of the rule of law is that like cases are treated alike, that there not be one rule for Democrats and another for Republicans, one rule for friends, another for foes, one rule for the powerful, another for the powerless, one rule for the rich, and another for the poor, or different rules depending upon one's race or ethnicity.
Biden said he expected Garland to receive a swift confirmation hearing in Congress. Biden will be sworn in as the 46th U.S. president on January 20th.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack on the United States Capitol. Like all Americans, I am outraged by the violence, lawlessness, and mayhem. I immediately deployed the National Guard and federal law enforcement to secure the building and expel the intruders. America is and must always be a nation of law and order. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay. We have just been through an intense election and emotions are high, but now tempers must be cooled and calm restored. We must get on with the business of America. My campaign vigorously pursued every legal avenue to contest the election results. My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote. In so doing, I was fighting to defend American democracy. I continue to strongly believe that we must reform our election laws to verify the identity and eligibility of all voters and to ensure faith and confidence in all future elections. Now Congress has certified the results. A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power. This moment calls for healing and reconciliation. To the citizens of our country, serving as your president has been the honor of my lifetime. And to all of my wonderful supporters, I know you are disappointed, but I also want you to know that our incredible journey is only just beginning.
As the events that unfolded in Washington on Wednesday captured the nation's attention, the raging coronavirus pandemic claimed its highest U.S. death toll yet, killing more than 4,000 people in a single day, according to a Reuters tally. COVID-19 hospitalizations stood at 132,000, setting a grim record for the fourth day in a row, with more than 250,000 new cases, taking the total case tally to more than 21 million. The deadly virus surging in most of the nation is hammering parts of California most severely, including the Los Angeles metropolitan area, pushing hospitals to their limits. The latest surge is compounded by the rapid spread of a new, highly transmittable COVID-19 variant that was first detected in the United Kingdom in December and has now spread to several U.S. states, including New York, Florida, Colorado, California, and now Pennsylvania. All of this comes as yet another variant has been detected, this one in South Africa. Scientists have said newly developed vaccines should be equally effective against both variants, but there is much scientists still don't know. On Wednesday, the leading U.S. infectious disease specialist Dr. Anthony Fauci said in an interview with the Economic Club of Washington, D.C., that the South Africa variant was more complicated than the UK one.
The one from the Republic of South Africa is a little bit more complicated because it overlaps a bit with the mutation in the UK, but it is a little bit more complicated because some of those mutations might have a negative impact on the efficacy of some of the monoclonal antibodies that are used. So we're looking into that very carefully.
With stretched healthcare systems across the country, federal and local officials announced steps to speed the sluggish pace of inoculating Americans. They plan to start distributing COVID-19 vaccines through pharmacies around the country this week, earlier than expected, as states have struggled to use up the supplies they have been allocated.
Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine may be effective for much longer than you think. Moderna CEO Stefan Bancel addressed the issue Thursday at an event organized by a financial services group.
The nightmare scenario that was described in the media in the spring, if you recall, the vaccine will not work more than a month or two. This nightmare scenario, I think, is off the window. We believe there will be protection potentially a couple years.
But he said more data is still needed to make a definitive assessment. He said the immediate focus is on the vaccine's effectiveness on seniors.
The question, I think, is going to be really around the elderly, because as is true for every virus, the immune system of the elderly goes down in terms of ability over time.
The length of protection was a lingering question for scientists and regulators, given that Moderna is just one of the companies that worked at warp speed to turn out a coronavirus vaccine in just a few weeks. Normally, vaccines take years to develop. The European Commission approved Moderna's vaccine on Wednesday. Bancel said Moderna was about to prove that its vaccine would also be effective against variants of the coronavirus seen in Britain and South Africa. Moderna shares, which have jumped sixfold over the last 12 months, rose in early trading Thursday.
Move over, Jeff Bezos. Elon Musk is now the world's richest man, according to one estimate. Musk reached the pinnacle on Thursday, according to Bloomberg News, thanks to a surge in Tesla shares, which hit another record high and has skyrocketed eightfold last year. That's pushed Musk's net worth to just under $189 billion, besting Bezos by $1.5 billion, according to the report. Musk has staged a stellar turnaround after nearly getting forced out of the electric car maker 3 years ago. Erratic behavior and controversial tweets put the 49-year-old in hot water with investors and the SEC back in 2018, forcing him to step down as company chairman. But since then, he's cleaned up his act, guided Tesla out of what he called manufacturing hell, steered it to become the world's most valuable car company, turned a profit, and saw Tesla get a coveted spot in the benchmark S&P 500 index. With a 20% stake in the car maker, Musk has enjoyed a $42 billion unrealized paper gain on vested options during the stock's boom. And Tesla's not the only thing going for the perennial entrepreneur. He also has his hands in space travel with SpaceX, high-speed electric tunnel travel with the Boring Company, and futuristic computer and brain technology with a company called Neuralink. But for now, his fame and his wealth remain largely tied to the ever-growing success of Tesla, which has put his fortunes into the fast lane.
Stocks on Wall Street soared to record levels Thursday, investors seeming to block out the crisis in Washington amid growing calls for the removal of President Donald Trump after Wednesday's chaos when a pro-Trump mob stormed the U.S. Capitol. Investors are looking to January 20th, betting that more badly needed economic aid will be delivered under a Biden administration and a Congress soon to be controlled by Democrats. Crossmark Global Investments Chief Market Strategist Victoria Fernandez.
Well, I think really what the markets are doing is seeing what happened in Washington yesterday as a one-off event, and they're looking a little bit longer at the stimulus package that's going to be coming. For that, we're seeing the markets react, and it's a day-to-day reaction on the markets. But today, it's the idea that more stimulus is coming.
The yield on the benchmark 10-year Treasury moved higher, and that in turn fueled financial stocks. Other economically sensitive sectors, such as industrials and energy, also rallied, lifting the S&P 500 1.5% and the Dow 0.7%. Tech stocks performed even better, erasing Wednesday's losses and boosting the Nasdaq 2.5%. Among the biggest drivers on that index, Tesla. Shares jumped 8% after RBC Capital Markets upgraded the electric car maker's stock to sector perform from underperform. That pushed Tesla CEO Elon Musk past Amazon founder Jeff Bezos to become the world's richest person, according to Bloomberg. The company's stock market valuation also topped that of Facebook for the first time. Walgreens Boots Alliance shares were the Dow's top gainer, rising 5%. Higher sales at its retail drugstores and higher prescription volumes drove the company's adjusted quarterly profit past analysts' targets.
So far, these were the latest news for today. Goodbye. Take care.